2500 BC, the ancient Egyptians were there, but I believe they found the Sphinx already created and already heavily eroded.
This video unfolds a treasury of remarkable historical facts that aren't part of the usual curriculum, covering a diverse range of topics from surprising scientific discoveries to misunderstood personalities and events.
Living had been just a long dream. Someone else's dream.
This journey into the past promises to enlighten, amuse, and most importantly, expand your knowledge about the myriad of peculiar details that history has to offer. Number 1. The invention of video. Although it's a common belief that video was invented in ancient Egypt, the real credit goes to the Chinese. The Egyptians created a video-like substance known as papyrus around 3000 BC, but it's significantly different from what we now understand as video. Papyrus is made by slicing the stem of the papyrus plant into thin strips and arranging them in 2 layers at right angles, which are then pounded together into a sheet. While this was a remarkable invention, it's not video in the strict sense of the term. The invention of true video as we know it today came much later, around 105 AD in China during the Han Dynasty. It was invented by a court official named Kai Lun, who improved the existing process of video making by using mulberry bark, hemp, remnants of rags, and even fishnets as raw materials. The process Kai Lun developed involved soaking the materials in water, mashing it into a pulp, draining the water, and then drying it into sheets. This technique revolutionized the process of making video, making it cheaper and easier to produce than ever before. This invention had profound implications. With video, knowledge could be recorded and spread more easily. It became a catalyst for cultural, scientific, and political development, not only in China, but eventually throughout the world. However, the technique of video making remained a closely guarded secret in China for many centuries. It wasn't until 610 AD that the process was introduced to Japan by a Buddhist monk, and later in the 8th century, it found its way to the Middle East during the Tang Dynasty due to war and trade. From there, video slowly started to replace other writing materials like clay tablets, papyrus, and parchment in different regions of the world. Its convenience and versatility made it an indispensable part of human civilization, shaping the trajectory of progress, and it continues to hold significance, even in today's increasingly digital world. Number 2. The Lost City of Troy. Troy, immortalized in Homer's epic poem The Iliad, was considered by many to be purely a realm of myth. However, in the late 19th century, the reality of this fabled city came into the light. A wealthy German businessman and amateur archaeologist, Heinrich Schliemann, fueled by his fascination with ancient civilizations, set out to discover Troy's physical traces. His obsession led him to a location in modern-day Turkey called Hisarlik, a site that matched the geographical descriptions in the Iliad. Despite being a self-taught archaeologist with questionable methods by today's standards, Schliemann's tenacity bore fruit. Between 1870 and 1890, he and his team unearthed a multi-layered city, a complex stack of ancient settlements built on top of one another. These layers indicated that the site had been populated, destroyed, and repopulated numerous times over the centuries, a typical pattern in the ancient world where new cities would often be built atop the ruins of old ones. The archaeologists discovered artifacts, walls, and buildings that suggested a rich and thriving civilization. Among the layers, the 6th was the most promising, showing signs of destruction by war around the right time period for the Trojan War. This finding bolstered the theory that the site was indeed the Homeric city of Troy. While the debate is still ongoing and exact identification remains contentious, Schliemann's discovery provided a significant link between mythology and historical fact, redefining our understanding of ancient narratives. Number 3. Roman concrete's superiority. The Romans' feats of architecture and engineering, such as the Colosseum, the Pantheon, and their extensive road and aqueduct systems, are a testament to their sophisticated construction skills. One key element to their success was their innovative use of concrete. Although the Egyptians and other civilizations also used forms of concrete, the Romans' formulation was superior in durability and versatility. Roman concrete, known as opus caementicium, was created using a mixture of volcanic ash, lime, and seawater, combined with a volcanic rock called tuff. This blend resulted in a substance that was not only robust, but also had the ability to withstand earthquakes. Remarkably, it even hardened underwater, which was instrumental in harbor construction. The longevity of Roman concrete structures can be attributed to a chemical reaction within the concrete. The combination of volcanic ash and seawater created a rare mineral called altobermarite, which strengthened the material and increased its resistance to erosion over time. In contrast, modern concrete doesn't perform as well. Despite technological advancements, our structures show significant wear within 50 years, especially in harsh marine environments. Today, scientists are researching Roman concrete in an attempt to replicate its extraordinary properties, hoping it could lead to more sustainable and durable construction materials in the future. The ancient Romans' ingenuity continues to inspire, demonstrating that sometimes the past can hold the keys to the future. Number 4. Cleopatra's non-Egyptian heritage. Cleopatra, the last active ruler of the Ptolemaic Kingdom of Egypt, is often visualized in popular culture as an exotic Egyptian beauty. However, contrary to this common perception, Cleopatra wasn't ethnically Egyptian. She was actually of Macedonian Greek descent, originating from the line of Ptolemy I, a general under Alexander the Great who became the ruler of Egypt after Alexander's death. This Greek dynasty, which Cleopatra was part of, ruled Egypt for nearly 300 years. They largely stuck to their Hellenistic traditions and spoke Greek as their primary language. Interestingly, Cleopatra was the first of her line to learn the Egyptian language, reflecting her savvy political acumen and her efforts to win the favor of her subjects. Cleopatra's reign was characterized by her shrewd political strategy and her romantic alliances with Julius Caesar and Mark Antony, two of Rome's most powerful men. Her life, marked by a series of dramatic events, ended in suicide following Egypt's conquest by Rome. Despite her non-Egyptian roots, Cleopatra has been etched into history as one of Egypt's most iconic and enigmatic figures. Number 5. The Vikings' discovery of America. Centuries before Christopher Columbus made his famous voyage in 1492, another group of explorers had already reached the shores of North America. These were the Vikings, seafaring people from the Scandinavian regions of Europe. The Vikings, led by Leif Erikson, reportedly arrived in North America around the year 1000, almost 500 years before Columbus. They named their discovery Vinland due to the abundant wild grapevines they found. The location of Vinland is believed to be what is now Newfoundland in modern-day Canada, confirmed by the archaeological site at L'Anse aux Meadows. This Norse settlement contains the remains of an 11th-century Viking encampment. The excavated artifacts and the structure's design bear a striking resemblance to those found in Greenland and Iceland, validating the sagas that tell the tales of their voyages. It's a testament to the Vikings' exceptional naval capabilities and adventurous spirit. This fact redefines the narrative of the discovery of America, acknowledging the Vikings as the first known Europeans to have set foot on the continent. Number 6. Napoleon's height. There is a common misconception that Napoleon Bonaparte, one of the most influential military leaders in history, was unusually short. This belief is largely due to the difference in measuring systems between France and England during his lifetime. At the time of his death, Napoleon's height was recorded as 5 feet 2 inches, but this measurement was in French feet, which are longer than British feet. When converted to British measurements, Napoleon was actually around 5 feet 7 inches tall, which was above average for Frenchmen in the early 19th century. The myth of Napoleon's short stature was perpetuated by British caricatures, which often depicted him as being much shorter than his British military counterparts for comedic and propagandistic effect. It's also worth noting that Napoleon was often pictured with his imperial guard, which was made up of very tall soldiers. As a result, he may have appeared shorter in comparison. The enduring myth of Napoleon's shortness is an excellent example of how history can sometimes be distorted through cultural lenses and over time. Number 7. T-Rex and humans closer in time than T-Rex and Stegosaurus. The concept of deep time can be difficult to grasp, and our perception of prehistoric periods and the creatures that inhabited them is often skewed. One surprising fact that highlights this misperception involves the Tyrannosaurus rex, Stegosaurus, and us, humans. The T-Rex roamed the Earth during the late Cretaceous period, which ended approximately 66 million years ago. The Stegosaurus, on the other hand, lived during the late Jurassic period, which ended about 150 million years ago. This means there is a staggering 84 million year gap between the times these two iconic dinosaurs lived. In contrast, the time span between the extinction of the T-Rex and the appearance of the first humans is only around 66 million years. This startling fact illustrates just how vast the geological timescales of our planet truly are. It's a reminder that the prehistoric world was not a single unchanging stage, but a continually evolving landscape inhabited by a shifting cast of characters over the course of hundreds of millions of years. Number 8. The Antikythera mechanism. Unearthed from a shipwreck off the Greek island of Antikythera in 1901, the Antikythera mechanism remains one of history's most intriguing mysteries. This ancient artifact, dating back to the 2nd century BC, is often referred to as the world's first known analog computer. Comprised of a complex arrangement of bronze gears and dials, the device could track astronomical movements with remarkable precision, aligning with the cycles of the sun, moon, and even planets. This sophisticated level of technology was centuries ahead of its time. The Antikythera mechanism is evidence of the advanced scientific knowledge possessed by ancient Greeks. Its discovery has significantly altered our understanding of the technological capabilities of the ancient world, forcing us to reconsider the narrative of technological progress. Number 9. Ancient Mayan rubber. Long before Charles Goodyear patented the vulcanization process in 1844, the ancient Mesoamerican civilizations, including the Mayans and Aztecs, had already mastered the art of producing and utilizing rubber. They harvested latex from rubber trees and mixed it with juice from morning glory vines, which contains a chemical that makes the rubber more durable and resistant to wear. The Mayans used this rubber for a variety of purposes. They made rubber balls for their ceremonial ball game, polka talk, and also used it to produce waterproof cloaks and boots. This early knowledge of creating and manipulating natural rubber showcases the technological prowess of the Mayans, long before the Industrial Revolution brought similar capabilities to the modern world. Number 10. The pyramids were not built by slaves. Contrary to the popular belief propagated by Hollywood and various cultural references, the iconic pyramids of Egypt were not built by slaves. This misconception likely stems from the biblical narrative of the Israelites being enslaved in Egypt, which has been conflated with the construction of these monumental structures. Recent archaeological discoveries suggest that the pyramids were actually built by a workforce of skilled laborers, many of whom were paid and well treated. Excavations have uncovered workers' villages, graves, and evidence of a diet that included meat and fish, indicating that they were not mere slaves, but a valued workforce. The workers were organized into teams and worked in 3-month shifts. Many were farmers who worked on the pyramids during the Nile's flood season when their fields were submerged. These men were proud to serve their pharaoh and considered working on the pyramids a privilege. This revelation has significantly altered our perception of ancient Egyptian society and its monumental architecture, underscoring the importance of rigorous archaeological research in dispelling long-standing historical myths. Number 11. Caesar's last words. Et tu, Brute, or "And you, Brutus," is one of the most famous quotes in history, supposedly uttered by Julius Caesar as he was assassinated by a group of conspirators, including his close friend Brutus. However, there is no historical evidence that these were Caesar's actual last words. The phrase originates from Shakespeare's play Julius Caesar, written more than 1,600 years after the real Caesar's death. Shakespeare often took creative liberties with historical events for dramatic effect. According to the Roman historian Suetonius, who had access to imperial archives and could read eyewitness accounts of Caesar's death, Caesar said nothing as he died. However, in Greek, Suetonius claims Caesar said, "Kai su teknon," translating to "you too, child" to Brutus. But this version is also considered speculative. Regardless of the ambiguity of Caesar's final words, the story of his assassination and his alleged utterance to Brutus continues to captivate the public imagination, demonstrating the enduring power of historical drama. Number 12. The Other Wall of China. The Great Wall of China is an iconic symbol of the country's rich history and architectural prowess, but it's not the only significant wall in China. The lesser-known Kumbum Monastery, located in Qinghai Province, is surrounded by another impressive wall, the Great Wall of Tibetan Scriptures. This wall is unlike any other. It is constructed from 283,111 carved and painted tablets of Tibetan sutras, collectively known as the Gyantse Kumbum. Built during the 15th century, the Great Wall of Tibetan Scriptures is the world's largest collection of stone-inscribed Tibetan scriptures. It measures about 2.5 kilometers long, and the scriptures are written in gold and silver. Unlike the defensive purpose of the Great Wall of China, the Great Wall of Tibetan Scriptures serves a spiritual function, embodying the Buddhist belief in spreading holy messages through inscribed texts. This magnificent cultural treasure, though lesser known, provides a unique insight into Tibet's rich religious and literary heritage. Number 13. The Origins of the Vending Machine. Long before modern vending machines dispensed snacks and drinks at the press of a button, an ingenious inventor in ancient Greece devised a machine for vending holy water. In the 1st century AD, the Greek engineer Hero of Alexandria invented a coin-operated device to prevent the overuse of holy water in Egyptian temples. When a coin was dropped into a slot on the machine, it would fall onto a tray attached to a lever. The weight of the coin would tilt the lever, opening a valve and dispensing a set amount of holy water. Once the coin eventually slid off the tray, the lever would return to its original position, and the valve would close. This ancient vending machine illustrates the long history of automated devices and showcases the innovative spirit of ancient inventors. It's a fascinating testament to humanity's enduring quest for convenience and efficiency. Number 14. The Great Emu War. In a strange episode of history, Australia found itself embroiled in an unconventional conflict known as the Great Emu War in 1932. The adversary in this war were emus, large flightless birds native to Australia. A massive emu migration, caused by their search for food and water, led to thousands of these birds invading the agricultural regions of Western Australia. The arrival of the emus severely damaged crops, and the ex-servicemen-turned-farmers, already struggling due to the Great Depression, appealed to the government for assistance. In response, the government deployed soldiers armed with machine guns in an attempt to curb the emu population. Despite the military intervention, the emus proved surprisingly challenging to combat due to their speed, unpredictability, and resilience. After several weeks of combat and negative press coverage, the operation was called off. While some emus were killed, their impact on crops remained significant. The Great Emu War serves as an unusual example of human-wildlife conflict and underscores the unpredictability of ecological interactions. Number 15. First use of biological warfare. Biological warfare has a far older history than one might initially expect. One of the earliest documented instances of biological warfare dates back to the 14th century during the siege of Kaffa, a bustling trade city located on the Crimean Peninsula. As the story goes, during the siege, the Mongol army, led by Janibeg Khan, experienced an outbreak of the bubonic plague. Instead of retreating, Janibeg catapulted the diseased corpses of his own soldiers over the city walls to infect the Genoese defenders. This gruesome tactic resulted in an outbreak within the city, leading to its eventual fall. This early use of biological warfare may have had far-reaching consequences. Fleeing survivors could have carried the plague to their destinations, contributing to the advent of the Black Death, which decimated Europe's population in the mid-14th century. This historical event underscores the devastating potential of biological warfare, a threat that continues to be relevant in modern times. Number 16. The color of the statues in ancient Greece and Rome. When we envision the ancient Greek and Roman statues, we often imagine these masterpieces in their stark, white marble form. However, contrary to this widely held perception, these statues were originally painted in vibrant hues. Over the centuries, weathering and damage have stripped the statues of their polychromatic finish, leaving behind the white marble surface we see today. Traces of pigment found on some statues, along with historical records, suggest that these sculptures were once adorned with colors to depict clothing, hair, eyes, and skin tones videoically. Modern imaging technology like ultraviolet fluorescence can reveal the original color scheme by making the remaining pigments visible. These findings have radically altered the perception of Greco-Roman art and architecture, suggesting that they were far more colorful and visually dynamic than previously believed. The colorfully painted statues would have been a feast for the eyes, adding a new dimension to our understanding of these ancient civilizations. Number 17. First man-made plastic. The history of plastic, a material we now take for granted, began in the mid-19th century with the creation of the first man-made plastic, Parkesine. Invented by British inventor Alexander Parkes in 1856, Parkesine was created from cellulose, a natural polymer found in the cell walls of plants. Parkes applied heat and pressure to cellulose dissolved in a solution of camphor, producing a moldable material that retained its shape when cooled. He debuted his invention at the 1862 Great International Exhibition in London, showcasing Parkesine's potential to replicate a variety of natural substances, including ivory and tortoiseshell. However, despite its innovative nature, Parkesine was not commercially successful due to its high production costs and issues with durability. It wasn't until the invention of Bakelite, the first truly synthetic plastic, in the early 20th century that plastics began their journey towards becoming the ubiquitous material we know today. This serves as a reminder of the evolutionary journey of materials science and the role of continual innovation in shaping our material world. Number 18. The real first flight. The Wright brothers, Orville and Wilbur, are universally lauded for achieving the first successful powered flight in 1903, forever changing the course of transportation and warfare. However, a lesser-known claim disputes their title as the pioneers of flight. A German aviation enthusiast named Gustav Whitehead, living in Connecticut, USA, is said to have achieved powered flight 2 years earlier, in 1901. Whitehead reportedly made a half-mile flight in his number 21 inches aircraft, reaching an altitude of 50 feet. Evidence supporting Whitehead's claim includes a contemporary news video article reporting the flight, as well as testimonies by eyewitnesses, including his daughter. Despite these accounts, his achievements have been mired in controversy due to lack of photographic evidence and inconsistencies in reports. The ambiguity surrounding the first flight is a testament to the spirit of innovation at the turn of the century, when countless inventors were vying to conquer the sky. Regardless of the debate, both the Wright brothers and Whitehead contributed significantly to the evolution of aviation. Number 19. Albert Einstein and the atomic bomb. Albert Einstein is often linked with the development of the atomic bomb due to his famous equation, E=mc², which describes the conversion of matter into energy, a principle that underlies nuclear fission. However, Einstein himself had little to do with the development of the atomic bomb. Einstein was a pacifist, but the geopolitical circumstances of World War II prompted him to co-sign a letter to President Franklin D. Roosevelt in 1939, warning of the potential for Nazi Germany to develop atomic weapons. This letter sparked the initiation of the Manhattan Project, the U.S. research project that developed the atomic bomb. Despite his indirect role in initiating the project, Einstein was not involved in its execution, as his pacifist leanings and suspected communist connections made the U.S. government wary. It's ironic that Einstein, a lifelong advocate for peace, is associated with one of history's most destructive weapons. This historical fact serves as a reminder of the complex and often unexpected ways in which scientific advances can be utilized. Number 20. The real age of the Great Sphinx of Giza. The Great Sphinx of Giza, an iconic symbol of ancient Egypt, is traditionally thought to have been built by the pharaoh Khafre during the 4th dynasty of the Old Kingdom, around 2500 BC. This chronology aligns the Sphinx with the adjacent pyramid of Khafre, and many scholars maintain that the Sphinx is the likeness of this pharaoh. However, this conventional dating has been questioned by some researchers, most notably geologist Robert Schoch, and author John Anthony West. In the 1990s, they proposed that the Sphinx is much older than traditionally believed, dating back to 7,000, 9,000 BC. Schock and West based their theory on the severe weathering patterns observed on the body of the Sphinx, which they argue are indicative of water erosion, likely from heavy rainfall. Given that the last period of significant rainfall in the Giza Plateau occurred around 5,000 BC, they postulate that the Sphinx must be older than this. Their theory is controversial and has been widely criticized by Egyptologists, who argue that there is no archaeological evidence to support such an early date for the Sphinx. They suggest that the weathering could be explained by other factors, such as wind erosion or the action of groundwater. Despite these disagreements, the debate around the age of the Great Sphinx serves to highlight the complexities and uncertainties inherent in unraveling the mysteries of the ancient past. Whether built in 2500 BC or many millennia earlier, the Great Sphinx remains an enigma, silently guarding its secrets in the sands of Giza.